Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to first say thank you for 700 subscribers. Safi is really excited. What we are going to be doing is we are going to do an Ice Cream Man commentary, Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard, and we are going to be trying different flavors from our local ice cream custard place called Ritter's. And so that will be a lot of fun. They have a lot of weird flavors, a lot of interesting, unique flavors. And this will be like a fun thing, like, oh, look, we get to try these different flavors and watch a really fun horror movie. And yeah, so that will be on Wednesday. Today, I'm here to do another ranking. And what I was debating about, too, was I'm ranking all of the Frankenstein's monster portrayals. So by the different actors like Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi, Glenn Strange, Boris Karloff. And I was thinking, should I rank them by movie? Because then it would be really interesting, because you could break it down and say, like, oh, well, maybe one that you think is really good is really the worst. And we'll get to that, though. But I just decided I should rank each actor's portrayal overall, what they brought to the role. In fourth place, the worst portrayal of the Frankenstein's monster is Glenn Strange. I don't think it's entirely the actor's fault. I think that, he did a good job for what he had. But his portrayal of the monster was really superficial. It was really one-dimensional, and a lot of the times it just felt like his character wasn't even really a character. It was like he was like a Halloween decoration that, like, oh, look, there's the monster, and he's trapped inside ice or mud or dirt. We got to get the monster out. And then they put him on the laboratory table, and then he's there the whole movie, and then they bring him to ultimate power. He gets off the table, and then he wreaks havoc. Did I even say that right? He wrecks the place. He wrecks havoc, and he just destroys everything. And it's like, he was really, really boring. He was a lot better in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, so I will give him that. But still, I think that this is easily the worst portrayal of the monster out of all four who played him. Number 3 is Bela Lugosi. This is kind of funny because, I do think that he is the best Dracula, or one of the top 3 Draculas for sure, easily 100,000%. But in terms of being the Frankenstein's monster, I think that the movie did him dirty, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, because he didn't get to talk. He was supposed to talk. In fact, they filmed all of his scenes with him talking, and rewatching this movie as an adult, it really feels like his performance is neutered, because he's, you can tell he has this, like, character that he played, this really unique portrayal that he did, but the way that the movie is, it's just kind of like, oh, what even is his character? Like, that whole movie is a very, like, Frankenstein kind of movie, in that, like, you don't really get a strong sense of his character or the relationship that he forms with Larry Talbot, and that's all because they won't let him talk. And I think it's really frustrating, because we got to see him talk a little bit in Ghost of Frankenstein, and I wonder if it would have been better if he was in the makeup talking. Because in Ghost of Frankenstein, he was only dubbing over Lon Chaney Jr.'s lines. But still, I would say that this wasn't a bad portrayal. I think it was still pretty good. He does this little hiss. He goes like, ah, and it kind of comes off like he's doing like a vampire hiss. is the Frankenstein's monster, so that's kind of goofy. But overall, I loved his portrayal. Number 2, this one will surprise you all. The number 2 best Frankenstein's monster portrayal is Lon Chaney Jr. I know a lot of people hate Ghost of Frankenstein. In fact, both Safi and I had it in the second to last place. But we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about the monster. And personally, I think that Lon Chaney Jr. did a fantastic job for a couple of reasons. After the second movie, they really dumbed down the monster. They turned him into more of just like a brute who is just really pure evil, but he also kind of has a weakness for children, which that sounds really creepy when I put it like that, but it just seems like he gets along with kids because he's like a giant kid or something. And so that becomes more of his character. And Son of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff did a terrible job playing that character. But then in Ghost of Frankenstein, Lon Chaney Jr., he played that character to a T. So first off, this is probably the scariest version of the monster from the entire series. Maybe except for the first one, because the first one was perfect. But he was scary. He was physically intimidating. He looked like you would not want to mess with him. He had a lot of moments where he just... It reminded me a lot of Michael Myers from Halloween 6. Because a lot of people say in Halloween 6, Michael Myers is really brutal. He's mean. He's a lot more like Jason Voorhees. And I think this is also the same case for Lon Chaney Jr.'s Frankenstein monster. And also, I would say, somehow, without talking, he had a lot more humanity and character to him than other portrayals where they couldn't talk either. And so that was also the interesting thing, was that he brought a lot of interesting little touches to the role, even with all the limitations that he had. And I think that he's the only actor from the later movies who really took the role and made it his own. I think that Bella might also have done that, but they didn't let us see that in the movie, so it doesn't really count. So, anyways, the number 1 best portrayal of the monster is okay, that sounded funny. No surprise, Boris Karloff. So in the first movie, he is terrifying, is the character of the monster. He does have a little tiny bit of sympathy for him, because he didn't mean to kill the little girl, but he is scary. And I'm being serious. Like, a lot of people, they look back at those movies, they just laugh at them. There are some funny moments. Like, there's this part where the doctors are trying to get out of the room with the monster, and he's like trying to get in there, and he's like, and it just sounds really, really funny looking back, but he's terrifying. Like, you just think, it made you think, what if I did this myself? What if I made a monster and I did not know how to handle it? I didn't know what to do, and it could kill you really easily. I mean, he was really, really scary with his walk that he did. Like, that first shot where he enters the room and he just walks in the room and just stands there, and you just think to yourself, like, uh-oh. Like, I want to get out of here as soon as possible. Like, and the fact that Dr. Henry Frankenstein at the end of the movie goes toe-to-toe with him in that windmill, that was badass. And that was definitely, like, a top-tier level, like, face-off between hero and villain in movie history. But then in the second one, this is what's really interesting. At first, in the second one, they bring him back, And he still has that really scary-ass presence. They bring him back, and he's just... The first thing he does is he kills a couple of people pretty easily. He just fucking destroys them. And, but then as the movie goes on, he becomes a different character altogether, to where it's like now you really get to see more of his actual character. He's not just a monster, you know. I mean, you see that a lot in Frankenstein movies. In fact, I'll just say this. I'm not going to spoil my own movie that hasn't come out yet. But in the original movie, in the original movie that I was making last year, my former co-star, she was trying to turn it into he's just a monster. So her character, like, any time that she would, like, be faced with him or, like, encounter him, she would just default to saying, "Oh my god, he's a monster!" And it's like, you know, it's just so gay. It's just so stupid and dumb. And it's like, that's not ever been the character in Frankenstein. Like, the original book, it is not like, oh, he's just a monster. No, like, the story is all about, like, in the original book, too, he's really intelligent. He has a character. And so in Bride of Frankenstein, you know, he really tried to bring that. And I think it's really sad that, like, in the sequels after that they didn't continue that, because I loved it. I just loved it a lot. And, you know, you really felt bad for him, especially at the end of the movie, because it's like that the Bride of Frankenstein was his last hope of thinking like he had any place in this world. And then she rejected him. And it's like, wow, it's like he really did a good job there. He's a monster character, and somehow he has a better character than, like, the majority of characters in movies today. So yeah, he did an incredible job. I would say, too, he deserved an Oscar for that performance, for Bride of Frankenstein. Easily. Now, here's where it gets sad. Even though this is the best portrayal of the monster, in Son of Frankenstein, wow, he really sucks. I mean, because, you know, they dumbed down his character. They dumbed down the monster character in Son of Frankenstein. They made it to where he doesn't talk. They added in this whole, like, story about he's so evil and brutal. He ripped this kid's arm off, killed his parents right in front of him. I mean, that is a really evil, despicable monster character, and it just didn't fit with Karloff's portrayal in the last two movies at all. So in this third portrayal, it really felt like Boris Karloff didn't know what to do. And, you know, he had a similar type of thing when he played a character in The Old Dark House, who's just like this mute butler guy who's like a rapist, and he's really evil. But in that movie, he hardly talked, or didn't talk the whole movie. And Boris Karloff, he didn't like it. He didn't want to play that type of character. He wanted to speak and have a meatier role. And I think that he had the same kind of issue here, because his character is complete trash. Doesn't make any sense at all. The only thing that makes sense and that is consistent through the whole movie is that he has this special bond with Bela Lugosi's Igor. But other than that, he does not have any character to him at all. And I would go so far as to say that the portrayal in Son of Frankenstein is the worst portrayal of the Frankenstein monster in the entire series. So even though this is the best portrayal, I think Son of Frankenstein really let down the character. So overall, a lot of interesting things to talk about. The last ranking that I will do will be ranking all of the Frankenstein women, which will be a lot of fun. Because it'll just be like, you know, just a bullshit video, you know, because it's all subjective. It's like, oh yeah, she's hot, her character's cool. You know, like, it won't be as, like, detailed and, like, interesting and intriguing as this. So please like this video, comment, tell me, did you agree or disagree with anything that I said? And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews, rankings, book reviews, video game reviews, TV reviews, although there's nothing good on TV right now. So anyways, goodbye everybody. See you soon.